They say we live in an age of progress, an era of justice, equality, and human rights, a world where freedom is guaranteed, where truth prevails, where the powerful are held accountable. But tell me, who writes these guarantees? Who defines truth? Who decides what justice looks like? Because outside the illusion of fairness, the real world tells a different story. A story written in blood, in silence, in the hands of those who own the system. Plato once said, "Dictatorship naturally arises out of democracy, and the most aggravated form of tyranny and slavery out of the most extreme liberty." We were told we were free, but freedom in this world has a price tag. Let's talk about modern slavery. Not the kind from history books, the kind hidden in plain sight. The child stitching clothes for a multinational brand. The woman forced into selling her body to pay off a debt that was never hers. The migrant worker whose passport was confiscated the day he arrived. We don't call it slavery anymore, we call it cheap labor, fast fashion, the adult industry. They tell us that's just how the world works. But Karl Marx warned us. The worker becomes all the poorer the more wealth he produces. The system thrives on their suffering. Their sweat builds our cities. Their pain fuels our economy. And we call it opportunity. And what about justice? Does it even exist? A black man gets 20 years for stealing a car. A CEO steals billions, destroys lives, homes, futures, and walks free. James Baldwin once said, "The law is meant to be my servant and not my master, still less my torturer and my murderer." But laws were never designed for justice. They were designed for power. History has taught us this lesson over and over. Martin Luther King Jr. warned, "Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal, and still, we cling to the illusion that the system will protect us. Look at war. They tell us wars are fought for freedom. But George Orwell exposed that lie long ago. War against a foreign country only happens when the moneyed classes think they are going to profit from it. Millions die, cities burn, the innocent suffer, and yet somewhere in a quiet boardroom, men in suits shake hands over oil contracts and arms deals. The war machine keeps turning because war isn't about freedom, it's about profit. History remembers the names of those who spoke against the system, not because they were celebrated, but because they were silenced. Malcolm X was assassinated. Che Guevara was executed. Journalists disappear. Activists are jailed. As Nietzsche wrote, "Everything the state says is a lie, and everything it has stolen." And so, the truth becomes a crime. But here's the real question. Why do we let it happen? Why do we turn away from the suffering we know exists? Why do we defend the very system that exploits us? Because it's easier, because we're afraid, because silence is safer than speaking. Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "When the rich wage war, it's the poor who die, and when the powerful wage oppression, it's the weak who suffer." So, tell me, how long will you keep pretending? How long will you sit in silence while the world burns? How long will you live in the comfort of ignorance? Or will you finally open your eyes? Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. And once you speak, they can never silence you again.